What up, HyperChange? Welcome to another episode. Today we are doing an impromptu live stream for Arcimoto. The stock is soared. It was going up crazy all day, up 69% to $16. If you can give me a thumbs up, if you can hear me, that would be awesome. Really excited for you to all join me, get my software set up here. So I got a ton of graphics for us to go through. Really excited about this. This is the chart of Arcimoto stock today. It was like bonkers. I kept checking it. And first of all, yesterday it was up like a huge amount too. I actually was buying I didn't even have time to make a video about the fact that I bought more Arcimoto stock at $7.40 which was I think it was like Monday or Friday or something. It feels like 4 days ago. The stock has been on a tear. I mean, Tesla just got in the S&P 500, but now Arcimoto here, this was the daily chart, up all day and then closing at the end of the day there at $16 per share. So huge day. Congrats to all of the Arcimoto people. Oh, you can hear me? Awesome. Congrats to everyone holding their stock, but kind of want to make this video go live, go through the Q3 results that came out. I was on that conference call. Shout out to Mark for inviting me. Sorry, so I heard something. But so we'll go through those results and kind of see what happened, go through the quarter, and then talk about why I think Arcimoto stock is soaring. I mean, this is the stock IPO'd at around $650 a share, and that was like 2 or 3 years ago when they IPO'd. Sort of had some struggles, production delays, and then a lot of EV stocks were hit. The stock hit a low of like $1 or $1.50 per share. That was, late 2019, early 2020, and now it's 16 bucks, almost like a 14x increase from like 25 million valuation to now over 500 million. Arcimoto worth over $500 million, like kind of a huge day. So congrats to Mark and the team at Arcimoto. I love Arcimoto, like has a special place in my heart because I've been an investor in them for years. I went to go visit the factory 2 years ago. Just a company that really is doing it for the right reasons, like really have this vision to change the world and build this crazy product. I'll show you the new Roadster they have here. I mean, I don't know. I just love the kind of boldness of this company. And so to see them succeed, and like we saw Nikola get a $30 billion valuation when they really had nothing. All these other EV companies who don't have anything, who aren't in production, raise hundreds of millions of dollars and not really execute, not really be in it for the right reason. And so that always really frustrated me that Arcimoto, which has done incredible amounts with a really small amount of capital, didn't really get the credit. And they're the only company beyond Tesla that got through that honeymoon phase and is now have produced and delivered over 100 FUVs, I think. They just did 31 in this last month alone, on the cusp of doing millions in revenue per quarter, delivering these, having happy customers. I mean, this is out in the wild. And so to see Arcimoto be worth, 100 million, but Nikola's worth 30 billion, when I'm like, Arcimoto's actually real, Nikola's just a CGI render. I don't know, that always really frustrated me. So now I'm like, this is actually getting the credit they deserve. And I do think there is a bit of euphoria and mania around these EV stocks. And I do think there is a bit of euphoria and mania around these EV stocks. So that's driving these insane valuations. So I kind of wanted, man, my friend keeps calling me. That's really annoying. Sorry. So I think you got to keep in mind that there's like a ton of hype around these EV stock valuations. And I don't want to say we're in like an EV stock bubble, but I just think it's going crazy right now, for better or worse, with Tesla, the S&P 500 really achieving profitability, people understanding that EVs are the future. NIO stock just hit 50 bucks. So I think there's like a tidal wave of, frankly, warranted investment and attention on EV stocks, and Arcimoto has been benefiting from that. So anyway, now let's get into the Q3 results that just came out. I want to show you what we got here to just quickly run through the results, because now Arcimoto, which wasn't really doing anything before in terms of financials we could analyze, now actually does have some. So this is HyperCharts. You can go, I put the link in the description, hypercharts.co/FUV if you want to follow along. So they bounced back. In Q2, they were shut down for a long time, actually late Q1, because of the whole COVID pandemic thing. And so we saw revenue bounce back. They delivered 31 cars or FUVs in the quarter. It was all in September. So it took them a while to get back production up and running and then start building them and then delivering them. And so now they're kind of back and the coast is clear for growth. We can zoom here on revenue. In particular, you can see it almost doubled, or more than doubled, to about 600 or 700,000, and that's just with selling 31 of these things. Like, I think it's like this FUV, like it's a $20,000, $25,000 average selling price product. Like, if they start selling a couple thousand a quarter, this is going to get millions and millions in revenue very, very quickly. And so even though Arcimoto's revenue is very small right now, just 600 or 700,000 per quarter, this is going to ramp insanely quickly, and it would have just kept going going like this if we didn't have the pandemic, but now that we're kind of back through that trough quarter of Q2. So and then we've got this right here, which is the gross margin. And so even though this looks bad, like they still are losing money basically on every FUV. It looks like they lost about a little over $1 million on that 600,000 or 700,000 in revenue. But this was actually my question on the call to Mark Frohmeyer was like, yo, what's up with the gross margin? When does that kind of inflection point start to happen? And they just did the partnership with Sandy Monroe, which is something I'm super pumped and proud about because I was involved in that. But I think, you know, bringing on that expertise, going from this kind of hand batched production to a much more scaled, automated, truly mass scale production is just going to have a lot of hiccups, and it's going to take time to implement these changes that Sandy had. And so the gross margin isn't normalized, isn't normal. I'm not putting too much weight or emphasis on that as for my analysis until we start getting to, you know, hundreds of FUVs delivered per quarter. It was just 31 last quarter. So my question for Mark was about that, was like, when does that inflection point happen? It sounds like Q4 is still so many changes, such small production, still ramping back up from COVID, that's not going to be the good gross margin. Q1, Q2 is when we start to see it really improve here. And then maybe it won't be positive, but maybe it'll start to be break even. And I will say we have technically already seen an improvement on a, whoops, I was getting ahead of myself. This is on a percentage basis. You can see that it went from a negative 350% to negative 200% last quarter. So still negative 200% gross margin, not great, but still improving. And I think it will continue to improve. So that's the important part right there. And so, and in terms of loss, this is what I say about Arcimoto. Like, they're so lean. They're ramping production like crazy. They're expanding. The company's booming. Like, if you go there, it's booming. And their loss is growing. But a loss of just $4.5 million, like, I think that's nothing compared to, like, you know, Nikola spending like $100 million a quarter not doing anything. So I still think they're a really lean operation, and you can go here and to see what they're actually spending on. And if you take a look at this, it's super, super lean. Like, G&A is basically just operating the company is basically half their expenses, and then R&D, they have like no sales and marketing. If they do, it's probably like giving away free merch. Like, I don't even think they do much, or I think they have a new YouTube ad program, which I think is a really, you know, I don't know, I've always been thinking of like Arcimoto, you know, do we need to advertise? Because Tesla has this whole you shouldn't advertise thing, just make your product better, which I really believe in that philosophy. And I think word of mouth has been huge for Arcimoto. They did like no advertising, generated a $70 million backlog for sales, but now they've started to sort of accelerate advertising a little bit. So I don't know how I feel about that, but they're doing it in such a genius way with this tiny little YouTube ad that's like such a small spending, but such a genius ROI of the right audience, telling the story in the right way, that I'm actually a big fan of that initiative. But I don't want to see them spend any more than that on advertising. But so that is what it is now. I hope you can hear me. I'm just kind of doing this live with the new setup, but I'm having a lot of fun. But we got more to cover here. So this is what came out today. It was the municipal pilot program to test the FUV in city fleets. And people don't know, so Arcimoto is like a really Eugene-based company. So Eugene, Oregon, like this tiny little town. I'm from Seattle, so Eugene is like very similar to Seattle, kind of Pacific Northwest, like feels like a tree house when you're there, kind of a really friendly small town vibe. And just down the street from Arcimoto is a fire department that already partnered with Arcimoto to buy their rapid responder to basically use it in their fleet. Like, we only have one fire truck. We don't want to send the fire truck for a tiny job and deploy it and not have it for something really important. So for smaller towns, having this, and I think like even in Israel, I was hearing like it's really common to have these sort of 3 micro vehicles for city platforms. Police force, you don't want to send a whole car, you don't want to make the guy bike or take the horse there, you know, give them their Arcimoto. So and it's interesting to see this piece of news that was you know, Arcimoto partnered with Orlando now. So it's not just Eugene, their hometown, doing it, but now Orlando. So I don't know, I wasn't looking at this, but to have another sort of marquee, really impressive customer step up and announce a contract, this is another big win. And that's what Arcimoto has right now. Like, okay, we delivered 31 FUVs. They have 4,000 in the backlog, 70 million in revenue, but they also have a ton of potential fleet orders. Like, they have a FUV deliverator with some big grocery chain, I think. I forget which one that was, but that was like a quarter or two ago. They have the rapid responder. They have this you know, thing with the city of Orlando. They have the hire car partnership for gig fleet economy. You know, I don't know, Amazon doing last mile delivery, Uber getting into last mile delivery. Like, I think there's a lot, like DHL partnered with them to deliver the FUV. Would DHL buy their own fleet of FUVs to do last mile delivery? Like, I think there's probably a lot of big customers we don't know about who purchased initial orders and are going to test the FUV. And if it crushes it, will place massive fleet size batch orders of the FUV And like that hasn't been announced. Like I'm pretty sure there's no big batch orders as part of that 4,000 pre-order backlog, but I think there's a lot of initial deliveries here that if they go well and these pilot programs like this one with Orlando go well, that could be a really, really exciting initiative. So this is the Q3 letter. I just kind of wanted to throw it up there, do the highlights. 31 vehicles in the month of September alone. I'm pumped. I think, Arcimoto's in the clear right now. That was kind of my big takeaway from the call. Like, and my first video about Arcimoto was like this thing I wrote, like they're almost out of cash. That was like what the thumbnail said, and I felt kind of bad. And Mark Frohnmeyer, the CEO of Arcimoto, like wrote all in the comments, being like, "Yo," he replied to every single comment, every single concern, and that was like how I met him. And I was like, "Dude, like you took the time and have really good, thoughtful answers to all of my critiques." Like, let me take another look at this. The more I looked at it, the more I talked to Mark, realized he sold his last company, put millions of dollars into this, was just doing it for the right reasons because he wanted to change the world. I don't know. I just got really impressed, but the rest is history. Now I love Arcimoto, became a shareholder, huge investor, but I think it's so funny that my first beef with them, which I actually think was a really good analysis, was like almost out of cash. Like they always only had like $1 million on the balance sheet, and they were burning like $2 or $3 million a quarter, and they weren't even producing a car. So I was always like, bro, Mark, like I want to buy stock, but dude, like aren't we gonna have to dilute, like da da da? And then we got in this really weird like pressured cycle of, okay, well, everyone knows you're out of cash, so, we don't really want to fund you at a high valuation because it looks like you're out of cash. And so it's sort of like this catch-22, and the stock price is going down, which makes the price lower, which means there's going to be more dilution. So there was a lot of cash concerns, frankly, for Arcimoto, especially in a capital-intensive business. And what's crazy is, first of all, not only have they ramped like crazy, and they're only burning $4.5 million up from that $2 or $3 million, so barely increased the burn rate, and now they're actually into production doing all this crazy stuff, but now they have $17 million on the balance sheet. Like, Arcimoto has so much cash, I don't even know if they show it here, but they secured a $10 million loan. Anyway, they say it somewhere else in the press release, but they have $10 million or $17 million in cash. They're only burning $5 million a quarter, let's call it. That's at least 3 to 4 quarters of cash, which, great day for electrification. Thanks for the super chat, Nick. Appreciate that. But now Arcimoto, like, Tesla with 14 billion, they have a ton of cash. So Arcimoto with 3 quarters and 17 billion is nowhere near that much, but for Arcimoto standards, that's huge. It's huge breathing room, and there could be another leg to the story where they stop funding it with equity and capital raises and actually get this advanced manufacturing vehicle loan program. I really should talk to Mark about more about that. But that seems like it has huge potential to get sort of a big government loan and start funding this with debt, not dilute the equity as much. And I would I would say for people who are analyzing Arcimoto, if you go back and watch my videos talking about the stock, how I really think about the valuation and the financials, and I will make another video projecting the financials because I think that would just be really fun, like through 2021, now that they're ramping, we can see it and I can compare it with my old financials. What was I going to say? Oh, sorry, I'm reading your super chat. But okay, well, they have 3 quarters of cash. They're going to apply to this loan. I don't know. And I'm also kind of thinking that the gross margin, like 3 or 4 quarters worth of cash doesn't sound like a lot, but the second that gross margin turns and the cash burn goes from 4 to 5 million a quarter to 3 to 2, like if Arcimoto, and this is why the Roadster is such a big deal, because there were some really good questions on the conference call of like, okay, why are we doing the Roadster? If we have if it's a new vehicle on the platform that looks different, why are we adding this complexity to the vehicle platform if we already have 4,000 orders? First of all, because some people on the order backlog are in Florida, they might want the converter one, let's give them that ASAP. But also, it's another segment, like what Mark said that really made it click to me is like, we need to add up units of like at demand, how do we hit 50,000 FUVs a year? And so, if it's 10,000 FUV, Deliverator, Rapid Responder, the Roadster is another 10 or 15 or 20,000 unit sliver that they just basically realized they had that they weren't using. And so now every time that, and I think people don't understand, it took me a while to kind of get the flow of how Arcimoto is rolling out its deliveries, but they'll do a batch of like 200 or 300, my guess is that's the size they're at now, sending that out to pre-order customers like, yo, configure your FUV, here are all the options, let us know what you want. Half them say, okay, yes, I'm ready to move on from just my $100 deposit, actually put down the price and buy and configure. And if I can go to those customers with another option, which is the Roadster, maybe it goes up from 50 to 75%, say, yes, we can configure, more people get in the backlog, like it just, as long as it's not too complex to manufacture, this is huge, and it's way simpler and easier to build, and they're going to charge more for it, so the gross margins are going to be higher. So, maybe Arcimoto's kind of admitting reading between the lines there that they underpriced their FUV to start here, at least, not expecting to be so capital constrained. If they had as much money as any other EV startup, they'd be crushing it. But without as much capital constraint, they didn't bake up in quite enough margin. They're learning from that and doing that with the Roadster, which I think is a genius move. And so you have a combination of why is Arcimoto stock rising? Like if you ask me that, I would say, okay, reason number one is they've raised all the cash. Reason number two is they're delivering this thing. It's amazing. People love it. The first customers are happy. It actually exists. They got, it's taken forever. It's late. Of course, everything's always late and takes forever, but it actually exists. It's crushing it. They got through the Rona. They have this 17 million in the bank, and now it's all green lights. Like they have the orders, they have the demand. All these partnerships are ramping. It's just about scaling deliveries. The Monroe partnership is there to really help them hit scale and achieve that. It's not just some far off, like we're going to scale. It's like, no, like there's been 4 quarters of hard work and scaling done. Now we're about to crush $1 million in revenue next quarter in Q4, I hope. And then there's no looking back from there. 3, 4, 5, 6 million a quarter, 10 million a quarter, very quickly hitting that type of scale. And that's why I say 500 million looks overvalued maybe in the near term based on what they're doing now. But when I look at a backlog of almost 100 million with a bunch of potential fleet orders not counted there, the platform that they're building, quickly scaling to $50 million run rate in the next, 4 quarters maybe. It isn't that crazily valued if you look out 2 years and kind of assume a good ramp. Lucas, what up? Proud FUV holder. That's awesome. Yeah, and so I don't know. I've kind of been, and I wanted to make this video without Mark. I didn't even tell Mark I was going to do this live stream because he's one of my good friends, and I feel like sometimes I make too many FUV videos just asking Mark what's up without giving you like my take as a FUV investor and shareholder just to the hyperchangers. Like, I was the guy who made that video that said they were almost out of cash, and now I'm like, holy shit, like they have plenty of cash, like they've actually delivered on their promises. I am a really patient, really skeptical, really hard to convince guy to get to invest in your company. Like I go out to the factory, I bought a little bit of stock. I'm like, all right, Mark, let's see what you can do. Let's see if you can hit your targets. I'll go out to your factory, gonna do research the factory line, see what's good. Gotta wait for another year to see if you can actually ramp and do all the shit you said you were gonna do. Like, and they delivered. And so I'm always waiting to watch them fail, and Arcimoto never failed. They proved me wrong. I watched Mark, like when the stock's down, figure it out, get the funding, get the capital they needed, and frankly, be able to do it. They did have to dilute more than they wanted to probably, but like it's going to be fine. And they did it in a really responsible way given the circumstances. So, I've seen them kind of be really battle tested. And so, after 2 years of studying this company, I'm like, wow, obviously Tesla is in a league of its own. I don't want to talk about Tesla because that's not the time now. But, Arcimoto is also the other success story now in the EV world. And I don't want to jump ahead and say like success story of like, because they're not profitable yet, but they have a really clear roadmap to a significantly and consistently improving financials and fundamentals if they can just keep the demand up. And I think there's no problem getting demand for 1,000 units a quarter. And at 1,000 units a quarter, we're getting a really interesting financial picture depending on the product mix and what they can do with these Sandy Monroe things. But so that's why I added to my position, because I was really impressed with Mark. I was really impressed with the how much demand this product never exists. Nobody knew what a 3-wheel vehicle was. Nobody wanted one, and they got 4,000 people to say they wanted one. Now they're getting hundreds of people to put up the 25 grand to buy one. Like, I'm impressed. And there's a lot of companies I can bet in. It's the next software thing. It's the next SaaS thing. It's the next app. Like, those aren't the future I believe in. Like every time I go see Mark, he's so passionate about it. And they're like a factory that's made in America, that they're in Oregon. They do everything as sustainable as they can. They're always thinking about it for the right reasons. They're a super mission-driven company. If we have more FUVs on the world and they succeed, the world's going to be totally a better place. It's just investing in, even if FUV doesn't succeed, I feel like I invested in a company that is pushing the EV and green movement forward. So that's something I'm so passionate about, almost like beyond making a return on my investment. And so I feel really good about being able to invest in companies like FUV, where like I can really say like I want this shit in the world. And that's the biggest thing I've realized in the past 2 years is going from like, this thing is dorky to like, I want one. Like I really want one. And I see the vision of a Tesla for, around town, longer distance, and an FUV. Like I'm the guy who wants that. And so it kills me that I'm like, fuck, I might cash out a little bit of my FUV stock to buy an FUV. That's like the only reason I would sell it. And I'm like, if it hits like $25, I might have to do that. And get an FUV ASAP, because my plan was to get one for next summer. But now I'm like, man, that might even happen sooner. But And as much as that sounds like an off the cuff rant that's unimportant, to me that's everything. And that's almost more important than all the financial analysis, is that me as a customer, me as someone who's going to live in a city that's future minded, that wants a product to get from point A to B sustainably with fun, that's safe. I want an FUV super badly as a customer, as a consumer, as a monkey with a smartphone on Earth. And I think there's going to be a lot of people like me that want it. And that's what's so interesting about Arcimoto, is that even at 500 million, even with the stock up so much, we only need 1% of people. We only need 0.1% of people or trips for this. We only need the delivery to catch on, only the rapid responder to catch on, only the Roadster to catch on, for this to become a $1 billion, a $2, $3, $4 billion company, in my opinion. And so imagine if they all catch on. Imagine if they can integrate with some sort of autonomy system. The battery tech gets better. They partner with Tesla for batteries. There's so many ways this can go. And now, just like Tesla, they're not strapped by resources. They're not constrained by capital. They have all the capital they need to really execute. All right, I saw some super chats come in. Drone deliveries for last mile instead of Arcimotos. That's really, I think those would be different use cases, because drone, you can't, it has to be, it's really weight sensitive. So I think the Deliverator's like an in-between. A truck is super heavy, a drone super light, and then Deliverator's in between. But that's actually a really good question. Lucas, I didn't get that joke in your super chat. Thank you. Appreciate that. Tomer. Oh, you like the Sandwich Hour interview, Mark Percy. Thank you. FUV content. All right. I can't just read my shout outs. We got to, if you have any questions in the chat, please let me know. I would love to answer any of your questions you have as an FUV investor. But yeah, I will personally say, to sum it up, I have been adding stock. I wanted to make a video about it. Didn't have time to do it before the stock explosion. So that is what it is. But I am pumped. I am really, really pumped. Just because, honestly, I'm kind of like a finance nerd deep down, right? For me to see Arcimoto be this concept and go from honeymoon stage to mass production, and now the financials are going to get better. I know the financials only get better, right? I know the gross margin only improves, at least maybe not Q4, but I know they implement all this stuff from Sandy. I know we're making all these fleet I know that we made 600K on 30 deliveries, and soon we're doing 100, 200, 300, 400 deliveries a quarter. So I know revenue's going from $1 million a quarter to $5 million. This is a really fun time to watch these next 4 quarters of financial results roll in if you're an Arcimoto shareholder. And that's what the market is realizing, as much as it's FUV. I started this by being is it the EV bubble? Is it people getting too hyped about electric stocks, about Tesla, the S&P 500? Maybe, yeah. Or is it FUV's revenue is up 1,000%. They're growing production 100% every quarter, kind of normalized capacity or whatever. So they have more cash in the bank than ever. They just came up with the Roadster, a new product line that is a huge hit that a bunch of people want. There's a business behind every stock. And so just I tell people not to get too wrapped up in Tesla and the S&P 500, sorry if you want me to comment on that and I haven't, I probably will, but I just don't care. That's all about the stock. Okay, that it's in the S&P 500, they're going to be forced to buy Tesla stock. Okay. I like Tesla because I like researching about electric vehicles, the technology, the batteries, the drivetrain, the autonomous software, making the world sustainable, the actual company. That's that's why I'm in it. The stock is just a way to participate, in the movement, that's why I care about the movement. I don't care about the stock, and I really think your investment thesis shouldn't rely on them getting the S&P 500. I'm investing in a company that's going to grow and their value is going to increase because the company grew, not because they got in the S&P 500. So anyway, I got totally off track there with that rant, but yeah, I'm really, really excited. It makes me really happy to see FUV kind of succeed, because just pure, I still and I was always that guy who was Tesla's a startup, it might fail, until last year. Now I'm okay, Tesla's making a ton of money, ton of guap. And they're, speaking of guap, hyper guap, there's a huge wave of applications coming out in the next week. So I've just been super busy traveling. I'm in New York for a kind of top secret shoot that I'm not getting paid for. I'm collabing with kind of one of my idols, dream like collab tech YouTuber. I don't want to spill the beans on it, but that's why I'm in New York. It would have to be like the most epic collab ever for me to travel across the country in the middle of the pandemic to do it, right? So stay tuned for that. And but yeah, FUV, man, I'm so pumped. And I think there's a business behind every stock, and there's been true growth in the company and what they're doing, and true execution and true progress. And that's why I was upping my allocation as an investor. So I'm not surprised by this move. I'm like, yeah, like I bought FUV for $3 a share the first time. Like I still have all my shares. Like those are the first ones I bought a long time ago. I don't even remember when. Like I think 2018. Then I bought at 593 like 3 months ago or something. Then I bought at 742 a week or two ago or 4 days ago or something. So every purchase is higher. And so and market cap wise, it's like I was buying at 20 million or 30 million. Now I'm buying at 400 million or 300 million. So why was I willing to pay 8x the price for Arcimoto? Because they had like 8x the cash in the bank account. They went from having half a quarter to 4 quarters of cash. That was it. I've ridden in the production one. It wasn't just this beta thing, and it actually delivered. Like I don't know, like they made huge progress. And a lot of the partnerships, that's another thing that I haven't been expecting, like this Orlando thing, this DHL thing, the Wahlburger thing, the hire car thing, this grocery store thing. Like I'm like, wow, there's a lot of really cool pilots that Mark has been able to get at this stage. Wait till the stock hits 16. Wait till they're worth $1 billion and the stock's at 30. Wait till they execute on the first partnership. Wait till you start seeing these on the road. Oh, I'm losing my voice, but I got a good point here. Okay. Oh, the only picture I preloaded was this one of the Arcimoto, but I have rode this around. There's not many people who have driven a Tesla around a bunch in cities and have driven an Arcimoto around a bunch in cities. I'm one of these people. So I can compare you the shock factor. People say the Arcimoto doesn't look dope. It's a little too nerdy. That's one of I saw the best fair criticisms of the company and the product. And I kind of agree. Like maybe if Elon Musk and Franz designed it and were like, they can make it look 10% sexier, that would be huge. It would be less of a niche product maybe. That's what some people think. But you haven't driven one. You haven't gone around Manhattan in a Tesla or that, and know that more people are going to stop you in your $25,000 SUV than in your $100,000 Tesla because it looks so new, it looks so different. They're kids, they're business people, they're moms, they're girls, they're bros, they're just every type of person. I don't know if I'm doing a good job at conveying this, but I've never had a product experience like that where everyone on the street stops me for everything. Like I'm parking it, of course I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like I didn't drive in Manhattan ever for years. And then Mark and the team meets me. We made a whole video. Shout out to Kevin and Mark. We had a blast driving these FUVs around the city. Like I'm going the wrong way on every street. I'm like, oh shit, I'm gonna get the crash. And everyone's like, bro, what is that? And of course I'm stopping, oh, this FUV. I can't wait to tell you about Arcimoto. And then everyone's honking and it's ridiculous. But I was like, wow, people are floored, but everyone's fascinated. And then you tell them, you're like, it's electric, it's made in the US, it's actually this dope little company that I invested in. I don't know if I'm like that guy you ask the question, you're like, oh man, I can't believe it's the worst guy to ask anything, because he goes on long. Anyway, but the wow factor, the swag factor is severely underpriced by the internet because you won't get it till it's in IRL. So that's real food for thought there. I really think people should think about the swag factor, because that's how Arcimoto to me goes viral right now. Is we're going to go viral with customers, with shareholders, with awareness, because you're putting them on the road. Every single customer. My mom, actually, shout out to my mom, was on a road trip and saw an Arcimoto and said she started talking to the guy who had it, and he was so he just wouldn't shut up about it. Pulled a straight galley, wouldn't shut up, was so obsessed. Said all these tips, and my mom wants to get one now. And so he told her all these tips about what to do when he gets it, literally obsessed. And of course he was really early on the wait list, I guess, if he already had it. But that was the first time I've heard about someone in the wild being seen with an Arcimoto. And so to get that first anecdotal evidence from not the company to be wow, people, they are obsessed, this is Tesla, was really good. Marcel, thanks for this super chat. What's up? Manufacturing ramp up. So 31 cars next quarter. I'm just making this up right now, but 250 FUVs Q4. All right, now let's go 150 in Q4, 300 in Q1. I'm losing my voice, so I might have to go soon. Any more questions? Can Arcimoto survive in a world with the $25,000 autonomous Model 2? This is a really good question. Yes, because Benny Key, you answered my question. Because yes, because by the time Tesla does that, the Arcimoto is costing 12 grand. All right, I'm sorry, my voice is going. I gotta go drink some water. Oh, actually, I got some water here. Super chat. Oh, Axon. I think that's the Taser company. Yeah, I don't know that much. I need to look into that. If you have an Arcimoto article, feel free to send it over. Any more questions? I'm really excited about Arcimoto. So the other thing about the swag thing is, yeah, so that the swag is underrated. The Arcimoto, it's way more fun than you think to drive. That's the other thing. Like Tesla, and there's like my two favorite hobbies are either driving a Tesla or like sitting and bumping music in my Tesla, and then driving Arcimotos. Those are like my three new favorite hobbies I picked up. So seriously though, it's like everybody should test drive an FUV. Like, and the amount of press and hype and demand they've generated without having a product, without doing marketing, without it existing, it's a good sign. And so I still don't think it's in the bag that Arcimoto succeeds, but I think the chances are higher than ever, and I'm impressed. The chances, they're doing better than I thought they would. Yes, I am long, and I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Like, I'm not saying invest in Arcimoto. I never tell you what to do with your own money. Make your own decisions. Do your own research. I'm a super biased Arcimoto investor and friends with multiple people who work for Arcimoto. So I'm totally biased, and I just want them to succeed because I think it's such a good mission. So I'm totally biased, but I don't know. I just love Arcimoto. Anyway, congrats to Mark and the Arcimoto team. I'm going to lose my voice, but this is so epic. I have a ton of Arcimoto content coming out, including an interview with Mark's mom, a podcast with Mark Frohnmeyer's mom about, she's like the first Arcimoto customer. And so, yeah, that's going to be pretty epic and just like funny content to come out that I think you'll really enjoy if you like Arcimoto. So let me know what you think in the comments below. What other Arcimoto videos do you want to see? Any other content? What do you think of Arcimoto? Have you seen one? Are you going to buy one? Hit me up. Are you going to use your Arcimoto stock gains to buy one if it keeps going up like me? Like, that'll be pretty epic. Anyway, this is HyperChange. Thank you so much for tuning in, commenting your questions. I love it. Anyway, I'll see you all next time. I'm not getting paid to promote it. I saw that question. I never take pays. I'm paying Mark. I invested. I gave them money. But anyway, see you all next time. Peace. Have a good one.